Set.
Is this thing on?
I can never get enough.
Oh, I just feel I got stuff flying over the room. What the heck's going on? The devil's fighting this evening. Turn that down. I got music blaring in my ears. I'm overweight.
Can't breathe.
Jeez. Okay, I think we're set there. I don't know if I
Lungs are not able to expand.
There's Miss. I didn't know if I could hear anybody else. Thought I was deaf for a minute.
He just argued with himself, which is not abnormal.
He's just screaming into the microphone, not caring if anybody else is saying anything.
That's exactly right. We have a very, very weird setup tonight because we got, well, first of all, John Sparks is in the studio with me.
Yeah.
He's back, yo. He's got to appease them fans that you found out that you had.
Yeah, I'm back.
I think those are like Bigfoot. We're not even sure they exist. But
especially is where I'm concerned.
So,
oh, man.
John's in studio. Missy's on location. Where are you at, Miss? Baghdad or something?
We're pretty close. We're in New Jersey.
Oh, it's the same thing. Baghdad, New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, it's
hell. It's all the same place.
We are close to the beach.
Well, then,
my nostril hairs are burning from my son taking a Mondo Duke in his diaper.
He's really giving it to you, huh?
Yep, 6 minutes away from the hotel, and my nostrils are burning.
Well, good. My parenting's done. I've taught him how to do that.
Did you finish pooping in the middle of the floor?
Yes, I did. Oh, you're talking to him. I'm sorry.
Well, I tell you what, she is just about in Baghdad. She got sand, she got the sun, she got the smell of.
Seriously, my son is grunting in my ear. He's like, I do like that joke though. That from church, that boy at church. Oh, now he's laughing and smiling. He said, He said, I turned, I'm not a magician, but I turned a back rub into 2 kids and a mortgage.
Yes, I did see that. Pretty good. And now, what a wonderful time to introduce Jon Hopkins. How you doing, John?
Tell you what.
Speaking of 2 kids and a mortgage.
Peanut gallery.
How are you doing, John? What's new with you and your little family?
Oh, man, just a lot of work recently. So I stopped working at Property Pros. I don't know. It would have been after the last time I was on, I think.
Yeah.
And so I stopped working there. No, I don't make much. I make a lot less money now. But yeah, so kind of went into the full-time youth ministry thing with Youth for Christ. And and Reese just had another surgery on Tuesday, so we're hoping that this will help with his seizures more. So crazy life. 2 weeks ago, it was last week or the week before last, I worked like 30 or 40 hours at Youth for Christ and like 30 hours at Property Pros, and then did youth group, and so crazy busy.
It's probably, even though it's busy, it's probably kind of fulfilling though, right? I mean, I've noticed that lately myself. Like, there's times I'm like, I'm freaking tired, but if I'm staying busy, it still feels good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, staying up till 2:00 in the morning putting a floor in for Property Pros was not too fulfilling.
Not true. Screw that.
I can understand that.
The extra cash was nice, so that, I guess that part of it was fulfilling. But but no, the youth ministry thing, it is exhausting sometimes, but it is worth it. It's a lot more fulfilling than construction, but definitely not on the pay end though.
Yeah, there's a I can understand that for sure.
Was the surgery for Reese? Was that for the drain that he has?
So he had I think it's called a VNS. So it's like where they put a device under the skin of his chest that has a wire that goes up his neck and wraps around a nerve. Like, I think it's in his neck towards his brainstem, and it senses seizures and shocks that nerve. to stop it, and then if that doesn't help, then we have like a magnet that you put over top of that device, and it will send like a more intense shock and stop his seizures when he's having them. So, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Science.
Science. Heck yeah.
Yes.
Science,
See,
yeah.
I love that part. Sorry, I had to ask that question because I
I'll tell
love
you
surgery.
what.
So
I was in medic class with a dude who, matter of fact, he just finished up his PhD in neuroscience, and he was telling us about all
And
these.
he was in medic class as well?
Yeah, so
Smart guy.
yeah, oh yeah, and this dude's 24 years old.
Oh, son of a gun.
Oh my god.
So he was one of
he's
them
a
guys.
baby.
He's one of them guys that graduated high school with like an associate's degree already. Like
yeah.
he's one of them like super freaking smart guys.
Yep.
But the reason why he was in medic class is he had signed some kind of a contract thing whenever he went to college at WVU, and he was not allowed to actually work anywhere. Like he had to be a full-time student and couldn't work a job.
Why was that?
I do not know. I'm really not sure. So he had a break in his classes.
Mm-hmm.
It was like almost a year. And he's like, I had nothing else to do. So I figured I'd just become a paramedic.
Gee whiz.
He was a firefighter down in Virginia. He was like a lieutenant at a fire department in Virginia. Come up here to school. And then he never studied for anything. He just cut up like all class long, and he had the highest score in the
Why do I
class.
feel like he'll be like West Virginia's Elon Musk or something?
yeah,
But
he's
he-
genius.
He's designing really, really good moonshine stills.
But like he would tell us about all those crazy advancements in all this stuff they can do with your brain now. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
They got the whole Neuralink they're working on it, so Elon Musk can sync us all up together.
Yes.
I saw a thing that said if Elon Musk ever makes it where like you can just stream music directly to your brain, that hackers are going to be rickrolling everybody.
You're never gonna give you up.
That's one thing. We should have a Rickroll on this. On our sound. I'm gonna have to get a Rickroll on here.
Absolutely.
Before we get into our topic, I did want to talk. I've been talking to several of the listeners lately. Y'all been reaching out, and I've talked to couples on some of you on the phone, some of you over
All three of you.
all three of us.
Because
Yes.
we have no listeners.
And
Does anybody need anything from the gas station?
but anyways, I really been enjoying it. I talked to John Baker. I know we talked about him, Miss. Me and you did in the last podcast,
Yes,
which has
we
not
did.
come out yet, but I was telling him about it. And so we were talking, and he told me something that when he first listened to us, he was not a fan, and he told me he thought
Imagine
I was a cheap Howard Stern. Which, for some reason, So I told him, I said,
that's
well, John,
painful.
I've got to figure out some way to work that into the show. So maybe we should get some kind of, work that into our intro or something like that.
Oh, no, I just need to get a picture of you in a black curly haired wig and sunglasses, and we'll be made.
Cheap Howard Stern. I like it.
Just perm your hair.
Oh my gosh, that's a big thing now. There's kids perming their hairs now. These boys
They all
trying to
trying-
get curly hair.
Trying to look like Brian Free in Assurance from like 1987.
Yes, absolutely. Or like, is it Justin Timberlake? Didn't he have curly hair too?
I don't know.
And then bleach tips.
What if we permed our beards?
Oh.
You think about how, John, I can edit, but at the same time, I do have to figure out how to make them
How to make them flow.
Yeah, so I do have to figure out something here to say that make people realize.
We
we're
got to
not-
remember what we was talking about before Missy took us down a deep dark
Yeah.
path.
Oh,
Cinnamon
Drew,
rolls.
blame it on me. Blame it on the girl that can't defend herself all the way over here.
So honestly, I'm pretty sure after the Howard Stern joke, we went far south.
Yes, we were, like,
Yep, you're
way
right.
south.
You might, to be honest, you might have to make that Howard Stern joke again.
I probably should. Yeah, we took that just real far south, all the way past Hope Sound. You know? What's the far south? I saw Dan Stellar. Oh, jeez. All right, we better just go.
John,
But we're going to speak.
Laughing.
We're going to speak now to our Church of the Week of the BMC of Aliquippa, PA.
Oh no! Mama just mentioned BMC.
Missy's ratting on us. What are you doing, man? What the heck's wrong
And
with
your
you?
son is laughing. Your son is actually laughing.
Is he really?
That's right. That's what he's supposed to do.
He must have read the church manual for the I apologize, y'all.
I don't.
Need to drive.
Sorry for that one.
Lord, I'm sorry for that one right there.
And be with the pygmies down in New Guinea.
I got a this is chaos. We're trying to talk. I got a German Shepherd dog jumping straight up and down. John, let's try to talk. You got. I wanted to have you back on. By the way, you are. I think he tied Byron for 3 guest appearances. I think is.
Yep.
Byron was wanting to be top dog, and John, you were nipping at his heels, and Byron's like, "Oh no, I got to be number 1," and now he's tied again. So, yeah.
Tell you what,
John, so we had you on first time we just BS'd, if I remember right, and told lies and stuff. And then the second time we had you on, we was talking about you was on with Andrew Graham. That's what it was, right?
yep.
Yes.
Who is still, and I'll give him another shout out. Andrew, he's one of the guys. He usually gets mentioned.
He needs to sponsor us, by the way, because we are like helping him out so much with mentioning his name here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, dude.
Some help you are.
Yeah.
And he strikes again.
Oh,
Yeah.
darn it.
We were talking on the last episode, Miss, about how there's usually there's 3 people that usually get. One of them will be mentioned on every single episode. One of them is Natalie Edmondson with Brian Holiness, or Don Van Zant, or Andrew Graham. So there was our.
That is true.
We need to start ringing the bell. One of their names mentioned. there's our Andrew Graham mentioned for the week.
Right.
But anyway, John, you was on with him, and we talked about the sexual abuse, child abuse in the conservative holiness movement. And by the way, it was one of those interviews that I enjoyed doing, but it was dark,
Mm-hmm.
But he was very knowledgeable on it, and then you as well chipping in, because the video that you put up had just come out and was really gaining some steam. So then I saw that there was a website hit my feed that a couple of y'all had teamed up and started this website. So we wanted to bring you back on to kind of promote that, because I think it's doing a good, it's for a good cause. Absolutely.
Yeah. It was kind of a one of those situations where it kind of just happened. We didn't really. Obviously we planned it, but we didn't plan for it to happen. It just kind of
Right.
Because I don't think that I'd ever even met Dr. Graham.
Yeah, I've never met him.
And I hadn't even talked to him. I think maybe he was a professor on one of my online classes I took through Hope Sound once.
Okay, yeah.
But to be fair, I didn't pay much attention to said classes.
Doc, you hear this? Gee whiz. Who you going into business with, Andrew?
Yeah, that was a waste of money. Because I did not actually try. So had I tried, it probably would have been a lot better. But
Shame. Well, I guess not all of us can be academics like myself.
yeah, like that doctor that he was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I do have a doctorate degree. I need to put it up here somewhere. I bought one of those from the Recovering Fundamentalist.
Your honorary doctorate degree.
Dr. Chief Howard Stern. Phil Howard Stern Sparks.
John, let's go back a little bit.
There we go.
Let's go back a little bit, John, because at the time that you had started announcing all this stuff, and what had happened to you, and that the old boy got caught there by PCI.
Mm-hmm.
So you were getting a lot of feedback and stuff in. Are you still seeing a lot of that? You still, is that video still gaining traction, or how's all that been going?
I mean, honestly, I don't know if it's really gaining traction anymore. According to one of the people at PCI, the video that they put out was in the millions of views total that they got.
Wow.
Off of all the different platforms and shares and all that.
My goodness.
Didn't Don Jr. even share that?
What's that?
I thought somebody told me Don Jr. even shared that video.
Yeah. Donald Trump Jr. shared it, or shared maybe a clip of it. And then there was multiple other. I mean, honestly, it kind of started out as conservative news media or conservative people that were sharing it, but it ended. I don't know if you're familiar with Daily Mail.
Yeah.
It's not a conservative news outlet.
Right.
And I mean, they even shared an article about it with a link to the video and stuff. So it was, and the actual video gained quite a bit of traction, but, and I think I said this in, the last episode that I was on, that I created my own video simply because, you've watched PCI, so most most people are not gonna stick it out through much of one of those.
It's not exactly family friendly.
Yeah, no, it's not. And honestly, I don't watch a whole lot of them because I just get very righteously indignated.
Sure.
And so I don't necessarily spend a lot of time watching them anymore for that reason. But
I need to reach out to them and try to get them on, because I think I reached. There was a couple. Well, there's several of those groups out there. But I think I reached out to one. I don't think he responded. And YouTube's actually pretty hostile to those groups, from what I understand. But
yeah, what's up with that? Why be hostile towards them when they're exposing pedophiles?
Yeah,
because it doesn't fit the agenda.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons. I think that a lot of times we have found that there's more people in high up places that are involved, or or at least what's the right word? I don't know the right word, but they put up with it at least.
Yeah, a little sympathetic, a little tolerant.
Yeah, to the 8-year-old brides.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's part of the reason, and then they always have the excuse of, well, you weren't actually a child, you were posing as a child. So since you were posing as a child and you aren't actually a child, they didn't actually talk to a child. All of that stuff, which is crazy to me, because the police will do the same exact things themselves, and if they're doing it, it's okay.
That's one of those things. I've heard that a lot, because I've watched way more. After that one came out, I went on a binge watch of PCI and DAP, Dads Against Predators. There was DAP South Carolina, and I had to stop. It does get depressing, but
yes, it does.
That response, I never quite get that, because they're like, well, obviously I was talking to you. It's like, and that makes it better. How?
Well, I have very strong feelings about law enforcement and it being considered entrapment.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to something like that, if people are going to do that, it's like a prostitution sting,
right?
In my opinion, that's kind of entrapment, and it
feels a little weird.
And I feel like it's a waste of time, like it's a waste of resources, because
plus it's really inconvenient when I have to go to court all those times.
Exactly. But like, they're
gotta supplement that income.
Yeah, they're two consenting adults, and they're just exchanging money for the act, and so that's why I'm like, I don't really agree with that. But now, if you're using that same tactic, basically entrapment, for somebody that'll actually take the bait for a child, now that's a lot different.
Yeah, it don't feel right,
because that's actually going to injure a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying there.
So I know that's been a big discussion with PCI, and I mean, I think that we said it in in the first interview I did, but one of the ladies that helps out with PCI used to work with us. Her response to that is entrapment is law enforcement. So it's literally physically impossible for them to be entrapping anyone because they're not even law enforcement.
Yeah, I didn't realize that for a while. Yeah,
but on the on the same side too, like I don't even know if I would, if they were law enforcement, how that would be necessarily considered entrapment because they are choosing to to talk to someone they think is a minor. Mm-hmm. And they're, I don't know, to me they're making the conscious choice. And I know for PCI, and they'll say this too, that they don't start sexual conversations with these people.
Right.
These people start the conversation. So it's not like they're trying to get them to say something. No, they add them, the predators will add their profiles because they look young, and they go from there. Mm-hmm. And so they're really not even doing anything.
What is what's the primary platform that those guys end up using, like the predators and stuff? What is it? Just all of them come together, or is there one?
Yeah, and I know, like I've spoken with some of the people from PCI, and like I think that there's some that are more prevalent than others, but they actually wouldn't even tell me what app it was, because they don't want people to be like, oh, don't contact minors on this app. We got to switch to a different app type of thing. Yeah. But I mean, what's the one app that's out now that it is one big one? Is it Whisper or something like that?
Yeah, I've heard Whisper mentioned in some of it. Yeah, I'd never heard of it.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I've seen people talk about it, but I've never even seen the app. But from what I understand, it's like an app where you literally can talk to whoever, whenever. You just what is it, Tinder, where you swipe, Yeah. It's kind of, from what I understand, it's kind of similar to that. You just swipe and talk to whoever it lands on. And if you don't like talking to him, you swipe to the next person. And it's just, to me, that's so weird. Like, my goodness, that's so weird.
Yeah. Well, there was that, what's it called? Like Omegaly or something like that. That seemed to be really, really big when everybody was quarantined. Mm-hmm. And it was just something where you could just get on this thing and it would just randomly pair people, and they would chat on webcam.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff like that. You just
pervs on it.
Yeah. It just all of a sudden the screen pops. You scroll to the next dude. There's just some fat old man viciously.
Gracious.
Yeah.
What in the world?
Yeah. I didn't hear about it till it was late last year that I had seen stuff about that, but
I've heard too. I forget who it was mentioned it. They said that Telegram is actually bad for some of that stuff too.
Did you say telegrams?
Yeah.
Sorry, that just... yeah, that's what they used to do.
It's weird. You have all those dots and dashes
41,
and stuff.
stop. Mail, stop.
So, I knew a lot of people had reached out, and then we were wanting to put some more pressure on. We did a couple episodes. Well, we got more to do, by the way. We was digging, y'all. Wow. In fact, I've got, maybe I should just say this. Maybe people can give me advice. So I've got a phone number of somebody.
Oh, boy.
Actually, let's call him right now, John.
Oh, dear.
So there's an episode that we've had planned for a while to do about a preacher that somehow he through a very unfortunate series of events now finds himself in prison in Pennsylvania. But we did the episode about Kevin and Carl Halstead, and that one I feel like it went fairly well because I had plenty of audio and stuff to play. What the heck? Mom just pulled up blew the horn. I thought Kevin Halstead was here to get me. So where was I at? Good Lord. Oh, so I had all that
prison
audio
in Pennsylvania. That's where you were.
I had all that audio and stuff to play to make it more interesting. Well, this one that we're working on, the only thing that there is newspaper articles. So it's a little bit like that's going to be a little more boring. So I'm trying to find out more information just to make the story more interesting. So somebody gave me a phone number with that dog. Good Lord.
Hey, get out of here.
Very professional operation, Jon Hopkins.
Try.
Somebody gave me a phone number.
Is my house still standing?
To call.
No, strike force is in here tearing it apart.
Somebody gave me a phone number to call these people that knew him. We're on good terms with him. And so I'm like, I've sat on this number for like 3 months because how do you initiate that conversation? Like, hey, we're
this is Hillbilly Broadcast. And
we're wanting to do a hit piece on your buddy, and just thought we'd call you up. I don't know how to do that. So
you can just get Samuel L. Jackson to do a voiceover of the newspaper articles for you.
Do a voiceover.
Yeah, there you go.
There's Mom. There's one making all the noise.
You remember the show Dragnet?
Yes, I do.
So, only the names have been changed to protect them.
We ain't going to change no names.
Mom, you want a pair of headphones in here? Jon Hopkins, we're talking about child molester.
Mom wanted to go get food now.
I'm sorry.
She wants to get what?
Mom wanted to get the hot dog.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
But there's a pair of headphones there if you want some, Mom. Where was I at, John? This is when I've tried to hold this together.
Man, he was at prison in Pennsylvania. We discussed this.
Yeah, and I talked about these people. Oh my Lord, are you kidding me? What was that?
This is just chaos.
I said the devil's fighting. I meant.
No, you was saying you don't know how to initiate that conversation.
Yeah, how do you initiate that conversation? Somebody
is it the actual like defendant or is it a buddy?
No, it's like a buddy of his.
Hopefully, ex-buddy.
Oh, from what I understand, no.
Oh well, interesting.
That's why it's interesting. Yes.
Well, see, the thing is though, it's like, okay, yeah, you're his buddy, but are you going to defend him? Like you should, or are you going to just be like, okay, you need to own it up and like say, yeah, he did it. Like, does that mean you can't be buddies anymore?
That would make me. I feel like I'd put a strain on the friendship. Yeah. So I'll think it over, I suppose. I mean, I just need to man up and call them and just
yeah, be
I
like,
think
hey, this is Hillbilly Broadcast. What'd you do?
From what I understand, they're still deep in the CHM. So that's
even better.
Yeah,
even better.
John, you guys started a website, and you want to give us kind of an overview of that? What's going on there? What it's for, and maybe who's behind it?
Yeah,
George Soros. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we when the whole video thing came out, and I started getting a ton of people sending me messages, and then the original PCI clip went viral, and then I shared my own personal video, and it got a lot more views than I was expecting, and a lot of people sending me messages and saying, hey, this happened to me too, and this happened to me within the CHM, and all this stuff. At first it was a little overwhelming, honestly, but then I was like, man, this is a lot bigger problem even than I would have thought.
Right.
And I already thought it was a problem. So it was kind of like, what do I do with this information, and how do I make a difference? Not just, you got a problem, fix it. How do I make a difference? And then
I find myself like having trouble sometimes too, because I'll just wind up sitting and hollering about something, but it's really not doing anything. So I understand what you're talking about.
So then I got connected with Reggie Baker, I think first. She had reached out to me and just expressed, that she was collecting data, and because she also saw that there was a problem, and was like, I'm collecting data. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it, but I'm collecting data. And then I was on the podcast with Dr. Graham, and I think that was the first time that I actually spoke to him. And that led to a lot of conversations. I mean, even, you know how it is when you record one of these, we might talk for an hour and a half and you get 30 minutes audio.
Right. Right.
And, so, after we had finished the podcast, we, me, you, and him and maybe Missy had a good conversation.
Yep.
And so that just led to more conversations between us and how he had already kind of been thinking about what to do with the information and what to do with the information that he knows just from being a counselor.
When you're saying that Reggie was gathering data, like what do you mean specifically? Like gathering like people's stories or what?
Yeah. So, as little or as much as what they wanted to share with her.
Okay.
So what denomination they were in when they were abused. If they wanted to, they could share their name, their abuser's name. But really just kind of providing a place for them to share their story. Because that's an important part of the healing process.
Sure.
Is, sharing your story. And because once you share it, then you realize you're not the only person. Right. And, that there's other people out there that are also struggling with issues they've had. So just kind of providing that place, but while providing that place, also collecting, data to say, this is actually more of a problem within the CHN than what people would think. So she had already kind of been doing that. And then we were brainstorming and trying to figure out what to do with the data and how we can help. Honestly, most of the credit goes to Dr. Graham and Reggie. They put a lot of effort into the website. I kind of just answered questions and threw out my opinion.
Sure.
But so essentially what the website does is it creates a place for someone to fill out a survey that essentially collects the same data that Reggie was already collecting. So there's some questions that are required, but a lot of questions that aren't. You can essentially put as little or as much of your story as you want.
Okay.
So then there's you might answer a question, and then after that question, there's a place where you can fill out, details. If you want to share your story, you can fill out whatever details you want. And the only people that have access to those files are the three of us. No one else has access. It's password protected. There's no possible way for anyone to get your, info that you share on there. And so I think
people can feel safe then knowing that if they do decide to share their story, that it's going to be held confidentially between the three of you.
Yeah. Okay. And we're not going to blast their story to everyone,
Right.
Hey, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I think that it might be the last question or one of the last questions is, how much of this information, are you okay with us sharing? Some people they want to tell the story, but they want nothing said to anyone because, there's people that haven't disclosed anything to anyone. And this is just that place for them to come and say, hey, this actually happened. And to know that we're not going to blast everything. Obviously, Dr. Graham is a counselor, so he knows all about not being able to say certain things and,
right.
Confidentiality. And then as a youth pastor, I'm in the same place. Mm-hmm. And then Reggie is victims advocate, same thing. So we all understand that, there's not a point in time when we're going to share any information that's shared with us in that capacity.
Sure.
So it provides that survey, and that streamlines all of the data that Reggie was collecting because she was trying to kind of do it all, herself on Excel sheets and, just a lot of work. And this automatically puts it into demographics for us. So it'll show this particular denomination had this many people that said, or this person, they turned in so many, surveys saying that, that something had happened to them. So, there's just so many different things that it provides like a pie chart for us to see, and all the statistics are right there in front of us and not having to try to figure those out. So it just kind of streamlines the process.
I see. I've filled out the survey one time.
Mm-hmm.
I've got about 3 incidences in my life that I didn't realize you could fill it out as like many times as you've had different instances in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what my husband was telling me. He's like, Missy, you can fill that out a few times, right? And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I guess I got to go back in and do a couple more times. But yeah, there were so many good questions on there. And it does get personal. And I actually, it makes you think, like, why did you not say anything? Why did you say something? And like, there's good questions on there. I really found that really interesting whenever I was filling it out.
Yeah. And then, like, before you can even fill anything out, there's like a consent form. And in that consent form basically says, like, if you start feeling uncomfortable, this starts, activating certain thoughts or memories in your head that just are too much, like, step away from it. Don't finish filling it out. You can come back to it or you can not come back to it. Just
right.
Because we obviously don't want to cause anyone to activate, feelings that they don't want to activate either.
So let me ask you this, John, and this is a question that I would imagine some people listening are wondering. What do you think, or what is the end goal with gathering this information? Like, what good do you think do you see coming to this, or what's the general purpose of having all this data set on file?
Yeah. So I think that the purpose that we all kind of agree on is that we don't want to use this information to tear down every denomination within the conservative holiness movement. That's not our goal. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to provide the information to some of those denominations. If they are willing to sit down and talk to us, that's probably not going to be the case with everyone. But at some point, once we have enough data, you don't want to go in with, 5 people filled out a survey and
right.
So, so once we have enough data to be able to provide that data to the denomination, be like, hey, like, you probably don't even know this, but the 20% of these incidents happened within your denomination, or whatever, sure. And how can we help you? What resources can we provide for you? What classes can we help you get involved in?
Right.
That will help. That will help what to do with this information, and not just we're going to blast this all over everything so everyone knows your denomination is full of child molesters. That's not at all the goal.
Right.
So, and then the website also, like, we have resources already on there. That's a continual process that we're going to be continually updating and adding things, and probably at some point removing things. Just providing resources for people, that books to read, websites to go to, articles on how to report sexual abuse if it happens. Dr. Graham even has the sermon. I think it's on there right now. The sermon that he preached, or I guess more so the information that he provided. And I think even in an audio file and in a written file, severely edited, because obviously you don't want to share too much in a place that kids can access it.
So he was able to preach this to, like, a group of people. Like, it's a talk he gave or something like that.
Yeah. So he was able to speak at a family camp.
Okay.
And obviously to only adults.
Right.
But able to kind of address the issue and give some information, some ways to deal with it. And it went well.
Good.
I don't think that necessarily, I don't think that I expected that it would go as well for him as it did. We were all praying for him that night, but
yeah.
Just because that's what we want to do. We don't want to go in places and be like, this is your problem and you're, horrible people. And, we do want to see a difference. You can you can see a problem as much as you want, but until you try to help fix that problem, really you're not really doing anything. And so that's kind of our goal is we want to try to help fix the problem, and provide those resources for people.
Let me ask you this. Okay. This is going to probably be an interesting thing for the future, but I would really, really like to see, your website in the group. What are you calling it? I just want to.
CHM2.
Okay, and that's a twist on the Me Too
movement, right?
I love that.
Yeah,
okay.
so
I like that.
We had a lot of conversations about whether or not we should use that particular phrasing, but in the end, it seemed like it's short, concise, to the point, tells everything that needs to be said in basically 6 letters.
Yes, indeed.
Because we're talking about the conservative holiness movement, the way that most of us were raised. Not all of us are still, I guess, technically in that, but all of us still have family somewhere on the line that are, or people that we care about. And then obviously the twist on the Me Too movement from a few years ago.
Right.
So it's obvious that it's about sexual crime or sexual abuse, whatever you want to call it. Because you connect it automatically with the Me Too movement.
Sure.
And it's obvious that it's about the fact that it also exists within the CHM. So that's kind of why we went.
I love it.
Okay. So I would love for you guys, the CHM2, to be able to have a booth there set up at different locations. I really would. No, listen, because this would be able to call attention to anything. Anybody would be able to get resources and information. Because not everybody's going to be able to have Wi-Fi or internet access, but they would be able to have a phone number that they could call, or someone like that. That would be a really good way to resources if they need to get a hold of Dr. Graham or need to get a hold of you or Reggie. There's so many different things that would be really, really good for you guys to be able to reach out to people and be there as a resource for them.
Let me explain myself real quick. So, Miss, I think that's a great idea. The reason you heard me laugh, is there any place that would be accepted?
I think that maybe eventually, it could get to that point. I think that it probably would, at least at first, maybe be perceived as an attack.
You're probably right.
As an attack on the holiness movement, which is not at all what we want it to be or how we want it to be perceived.
Sure.
But I think that it'll take some time to get there. And that's, we hope that will happen. Not a guarantee that it will, but we hope that it would happen, that we would be able to get into some places like that.
If I could say something there too. So it's no secret that me and the conservative holiness movement in general have our differences, but on something like this, I feel like this is even so far above like religious differences or whatever. And I like what you said, John, about how this is not about tearing down these denominations and stuff like that. It's about, let's just try to fix this problem. Then,
absolutely,
as far as I'm concerned, then we can go back to arguing about what the Bible interpretations. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, let's get this fixed. This is not some kind of attack by somebody like me or by Jon Hopkins or Andrew Graham or Reggie Baker. This is, let's fix this problem. And I hope that they take it that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, there's literally no possible way that we can completely fix the problem. Because human nature is human nature, sin, and it exists. That's just unfortunate side of human nature. But we hope to bring awareness and to make it a normalized conversation.
Yes.
That it's not a taboo thing to talk about, and that understanding the fact that if it exists within your church or if it exists within your denomination or at your camp or at your Bible college or at your Christian school, whatever the circumstance might be, that doesn't mean that thing is a horrible thing. That organization is a horrible organization. No, it means that organization has someone who's committed a horrible sin or a horrible crime within that organization. And, and I think for too long that's been kind of the understanding is like, well, if they find out that this person within our denomination did this, then no one's going to want to come around here. Like, I don't feel like that should be.
No,
maybe
you're right.
Maybe it would be the initial thought, I guess. But to have those things in place where, instead of no one wants to come around here because this happened, have something in place where, hey, this is how we're dealing with this. We're taking the proper steps to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I am much more prone to go to something like that where I know that, we're taking the proper steps to fix this, then, hey, we're just ignoring that this even 100%.
Exactly. And that's what I was meaning. Like whenever you have a booth there stating like, this is what, like offering ways to help prevent this from happening ever again, offering advice that do background checks on your people who are coming to, the campground. Like there's a lot of things like, how we've kind of set something in motion. I say we as a group, because, not everybody wants to be talking about child abuse, but the ones that are wanting to make a difference. And that's where your guys' website is going to be so helpful, because you can be like, hey, this is how we can help you out, and call attention to this and be like, hey, we are trying to make a difference. And by being at camps or youth conventions or churches where they have a good group of people, these are children lives that are being affected. Like it would be a good place to be able to make a difference, in my personal opinion, because camps are where a lot of victims are made. I hate to say it.
So just I think I've shared some of this with Phil, but this year after the video that I made came out, and after the whole sting that PCI did came out, I had, I want to say, I don't know, 3 or 4 different organizations or camps reach out to me and say, hey, just letting you know that this is the things we're starting to put into place. We're having conversations about, what can we do? We're starting to require background checks for, all Bible college students that come and, travel with PR, or we're requiring all of our staff members to be, to go through this class or and have background checks, and so I feel like that. My initial thought was that there was going to be a lot of negative kickback, and there really wasn't. And I would say that probably the most kickback that I got was obviously other victims stepping forward and saying, hey, this happened to me too. But the next thing, I guess, the next biggest thing that came from it was that that some places already had stuff set in motion, but other places started those things in motion after this, happened, saying, hey, we probably need to make sure that our place where we're having camp or youth convention or whatever is safer, and we need to have conversations about how can we make it safer. And so I feel like that there's already been some positive steps taken.
That is great to hear.
I haven't heard from every single denomination and every single youth camp and youth convention. I'm not saying that, but I have heard from, like I said, 3 or 4, and some of them, one in particular, being very, very proactive, and they're making every staff member take a series of classes, and the president of their youth camp is become a trainer for this particular website or whatever that they're going through, and requiring background checks and taking everything very seriously. Now,
is this a direct result of you coming forward, John, or had they already put this in motion?
So I am 99.9% sure that they already had some things in motion.
Okay.
Which is even more encouraging to me.
Sure it is.
And yeah, so I mean, when I was told that, I was like, man, to me, that is such a big thing. Yep. I might not even agree with everything that, like you said, there might not be everything I agree with standard wise or whatever. But like, I'm like, man, I would take my kids to a youth camp like this because they're taking so many precautions to try to protect my, I say my kids, but I mean my teens. They're taking so many precautions to, to try to protect my youth group when if I were to take my youth group there.
Right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, to me that makes a really big impression, and should, in my opinion, make a big impression on everyone within those circles that, hey, this youth camp's doing this, or this youth convention's doing this, or this family camp decided to make these changes.
Yes.
I feel like that everyone should be like, oh, I like this is making it a safer place for us.
Well, one thing I'm hoping happens too is that once it becomes known that these certain parts of the holiness movement are doing this, it should make it a little easier for the rest of them, because realize, okay, well, it's okay to do this. It's not like it's something weird or something different, because there's other people in our movement doing it. Make it a little easier for them
and
to
it's not
step
like
in
you're
and do
bad
that.
mouthing them either.
Right.
It's not like you're bad mouthing them either. You are just protecting. You're going at a little extra step here to make sure that our kids are safe.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, but I would support that 100%. Because if I knew someone was going to go the extra mile to make sure that my son was safe, absolutely. But let's talk about that. Make sure our babies are safe. There's nothing wrong in making sure our children are okay at the end of the night whenever they lay their heads down.
Yeah, I think that the probably the biggest impression that that particular youth camp made on me was that what they're doing is costing a lot of money. It's taking a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. They're putting forth a lot to make sure that this happens.
That is great.
And I was like, man, I'd be happy with some background check. I mean, not completely happy, but what I'm saying, I would like the progress of, hey, we're making sure there's background checks and we're checking up on this or that, or we're having conversations or whatever. Like, this is the progressions we're starting to make. And this youth camp was like, oh no, like, we're doing everything.
That's great.
And
good.
So
wonderful.
I mean, and obviously, still, that's not going to stop everything.
Right.
We have to understand that, but the fact that they're taking every precaution they can possibly think of, that to me as a survivor meant a lot, but also as a parent and as a youth pastor, that means a lot to me that they would take that seriously.
Absolutely.
Right. And John, if you don't mind, we can take this out if you want to. But, what response did you receive when it came to your own instances of, saying, hey, this happened to me? I heard something pretty bad, like a bad comment was made. And do you want to address that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind addressing it. So
we can take it out. You don't have to. We can take it out if you want, John. That's completely up to you.
No, I don't mind you leaving it in.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind you leaving it in. So I think in general, the response that I got was mainly one of two things: either, hey, this has happened to me, or this has happened to a family member, or some type of positive feedback of like, hey, I really appreciate you saying this or whatever. And then the flip side of it was people that I think felt like, well, why would you are you just doing this because you want to be seen? Yeah. Or, just kind of like ignoring the fact that it happened or whatever. And I mean, honestly, that I don't care. But yeah, so I mean, there was some comments made about maybe how do I want to say it, that I made too big of a deal about it or whatever. And honestly, I mean, in the end, I really don't care. That's somebody's opinion. Right. And sure. my goal wasn't for me to make a viral video that every half of the population of the United States saw at some point, or an article about it. I mean, right. First off, if you listen to anything that anybody clipped it down to make the however long it was 2-hour video or whatever, to make it to where people would actually watch it in their news story, whatever. I'm never in any of those. It's not. I did not get suddenly famous from right. being in this video. And, you know, and my video that I made had, I don't know, 5,000 views or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I suddenly became famous overnight, and that's why I did this. Like, you know, this was probably honestly one of the hardest things I did in my entire life.
I can imagine.
And it wasn't,
I'm sure.
I didn't choose to do it to become famous. I chose to do it because I wanted to see, or to make a big deal about it. I did it because I want to see change. I don't want this continual cycle of, you know, kids getting abused, people sweeping it under the rug, or acting like it never happened. Like, I don't want that. I want better for my kids, and I want better for all my nieces and nephews that are, you know, in the conservative holiness movement. You know, all of my cousins that are in the holiness movement. You know, I want better for them. I don't want them to feel like they can't talk about it, or that no one's going to care if they do.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
And like Jesus said, whatever you do to any of these children, you know, you do it to him. So we need to be protecting our children. And there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong in wanting to protect our babies. Absolutely.
John, I have probably one final question here in closing, and this is a big one for me. Did we get the scoop on Grace's story or not, is what I want to know.
You did. You beat it.
Heck yes. We got
Yeah. I think I'm going to be on Grace's story. I think it's Tuesday.
Heck yeah.
Tuesday.
I like those people over there. They put some good stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, we still want to beat them to the story, so we do. You got scooped by a cheap Howard Stern. How about that?
Right. Absolutely. Just remember your loyalties where they lie.
John, the website, you want to give us the website again? And it's got resources for people if they're struggling with this, if something's happened. It's also got the to tell your story, to kind of add to this collection of data that y'all putting together to hopefully be of some use in the future.
Yeah, so it's CHMTOO.com. CHM2.com.
CHM2.com. I like it. I've looked at it. It looks great, by the way. Y'all made it look really, really nice. Looks wonderful.
Let's be fair. Dr. Graham made it look really, really nice.
Dr.
and Reggie put her creative input, and I said, "Yep, looks good, man."
There's the Dr. Graham bell again.
You know it. Absolutely.
I believe in giving credit where credit is due.
Absolutely. Give that credit.
We need to make sure we put that on the website.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll share the link to it as well in the podcast description.
Yep.
On
Absolutely.
our social pages and so on and so forth. Really want to push this as much as we possibly can. John, thanks for coming on again, man. It's been great.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I mean, we might as well get you on for another one at some point so you can really beat Byron.
That's right. That's my goal, is to beat Byron.
Got to be old Byron.
You got it.
I think Byron wants to come on and argue with Kanan about Dave Ramsey, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I want to be involved in that one.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what people think. Absolutely.
All right, if you want to write to us, it's hillbillybroadcast@aol.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Other than that, I think that'll do it. I love you all, and Jesus loves you. We'll see you next time.
Bye.